Decline.
Good afternoon, all. Can you hear me? Good
Yes,
afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
For our participants, we thank you for logging in for our webinar today. We had to change our timing and we had to start for 3 o'clock. While we wait for the learned Sylv to join in, I'll just go over his profile. We expect that he will join in any moment from now. He is Yunus Ustaz SAN. He was born November 1957 in a village in Kogi State. He had his primary education in 1968, his secondary education in 1974, and his certificate in stenography from the Federal Teaching College, FCC, in Kaduna State in 1974. He also holds a diploma certificate in law from Ahmadu Bello University in 1979. In 1982, he was called to the Nigerian bar in 1983. He worked as a stenographer between 1974 to 1977. He's also worked at the National Veterinary Research Institute, Brum in Plateau State. This was in 1983. And then in 1984, he lectured law-related courses in the Kaduna State Polytechnic briefly before joining the law firm of Messrs. Abdullahi Ibrahim and Co. In 1989, he established his own law firm, Usman and Co. Nana Chambers, a thriving law firm in Kaduna State. He is the 5th senior advocate from the North and also has become a member of Body of Benchers in 2009. He's a member of the Nigerian Bar Association, as you all know, and the International Bar Association. He's also a member of the Association of Lawyers for the Defense of the Unborn, UK. He has held various positions both in NBA and beyond. He was 2-time second National Secretary of Nigerian Bar Association. Also, Chairman, National Executive Committee, the Nigerian Bar Association, and then Chairman Committee to investigate the existence of fake lawyers. Our speaker today is also a member of the Kaduna State, was also a member of the Kaduna State Law Review Committee from 1955 to 1989, then a member of the Osun State Truth and Reconciliation Commission in 1921, the Secretary, Presidential Task Force on Decongestion of Prisons in 1993, Deputy Rapporteur General, African Bar Association for the Biennial Conference in 1992. He was also an official rapporteur nominated by the federal government to the National Conference for the State Legislations in 1992. Today we expect him to speak on professional ethics, a critical aspect of our professional development. I imagine that he will log in any moment from now, and I'll just suggest give us a few moments while he connects with us. Thank you all for joining. Thank you for your patience. We're sorting it out back end. He will log in very shortly. Please bear with us. Thank you. afternoon, Leonard Silk. Um, Thank you very much, Leonard Silk. You're welcome. Participants, we thank you for your patience. We've resolved it. We just have a little technical glitch. Leonard Silk is on and start shortly. Thank you so much for your patience.
Please, can you hear us?
Thank you, Leonard Silk. We can hear you. You're welcome. Leonard Silk. Good afternoon, sir. Can you hear us now? Good afternoon, Leonard Silk. Can you hear us? Can you hear me? You're muted, sir. You're very much welcome. Without much ado, I'll yield the platform to you. Our participants are eagerly waiting to learn from you. Good afternoon, sir. Thank you for your time. Please bear with us. We're having a little bit of glitch on the other end. I think Leonard Silk has got a bit of problem on his network, but Please don't hesitate to drop your questions in the Q&A box. It may be with respect to some of the other sessions that we've held. And also feel free to share your feedback with us, how these sessions has been beneficial to you. I see that God's glory says she's still expecting contact details for the Buhari brand. Very well. Could you just leave your email in the chat box? We'll share that. Whilst we're waiting I have taken note. I've noted the email addresses of those who want us to share the Buhari contact with them, and we'll send you an email of the contact. Debbie wants to understand the procedure for change of name with the MBA from her maiden name to her husband's name. Debbie, I think you should just send us your email address and then we'll send that to you. Whilst we're waiting for the Leonard Silk, I would just say a few words. My personal experience from when I got called to bar to date, and some of the things I think you might find very useful along the way. I would like to speak to you regarding your goal setting. If you all listened to our speaker yesterday, she did talk about the need for us to ensure that we are well-grounded in our various diverse practice. And this is something that we get exposed to working in the law firm. It gives us an opportunity to get well-grounded in our very first few years of practice. From my personal experience, something I learned very early in practice was to set goals. It's been said that the most successful people in life are people who are very clear and intentional as to what their goals and purposes are. Clarity in purpose, clarity in directions, and intentional about where they are headed. So as new weeks, it's something that I think that a lot of us gloss over. I would ask you, for instance, today is 23rd of February. By show of hands, how many of you have cared to set goals for yourselves? What you expect to achieve and accomplish within the year 2023, in the next 5 years and in the next 10 years, in terms of your career goals and your career paths? Is it something that you've given a thought to? Do you have clarity? Do you have clarity in terms of your purpose? Do you have clarity in terms of your practice areas? Do you have clarity in terms of your vision? Now, this is very important. If we talked about reading books yesterday, one of the books that I read that helped me very early in my career was the book on goal setting. And very early, I set my goals, and I told myself I wanted to achieve these milestones at certain period in my career. At the time I studied, though, all I knew was litigation. I didn't know there was any other thing apart from litigation. Someone asked the question yesterday if it was useful to watch law series like Suits. So I watched series like Ben Matlock, and I was really fascinated. Till date, I still love law series and I still love those movies. When I get the time, those are the kind of movies I like to watch and indulge in. So the point being that all I knew was litigation. So getting called to bar, the first thing I wanted to do was to practice. So I came into the law firms, started going to court, and it was quite interesting for me because that's all I've always wanted to do, and that was what I was now doing at the time. Afterwards, I went for my first SBL conference. And then there were speakers talking about transactions, power sector. I mean, it was a robust, enlightening conference for me. That was what changed my career, my first SBL conference. I listened to the various speakers, and I remember at the end of the conference, I walked up to some of them and I introduced myself. I told them I was a young lawyer. I told them I had just been called to bar, and the things I heard them say were quite fascinating. I mean, I'd never heard them before. And at that time, I was considering going for my master's. Again, keep in mind that I said to you that it's always very important to have your goals. So for my goals, what I had wanted was to practice. And at some point, I figured I was going to go for my master's. And then I figured that I liked finance. And so I wanted to to specialize within that space. So at the SBL conference, I heard different speakers, and I heard those speakers who spoke along the lines of finance. I remember walking up to one of them and introducing myself and telling him how I'd gotten an admission to study, I think LLM in international finance in a certain school in the UK. And he said, "Oh no, don't go to that school. It's a glorified polytechnic." And then that got me thinking. I went back, I did a little bit more research, I understood, and then it was quite helpful because part of the feedback he gave me was something I utilized for myself. I did research, and then I understood how and ways to look out for schools and what to look out for in terms of my personal growth for my career. At that point, it was much easier for me to wait and then choose the school and then go for my master's. After my master's, the world of transactions, keep in mind that I had attended SBL conference, world of transactions then opened up to me. I then realized that there was more to law practice than just litigation. Till date, I still practice, I still go to court. In fact, I was in court this afternoon. But after my master's program, I then saw a whole new world that had opened onto me for transactions. I saw the different sectors and I saw various ways in which I could hone my legal skills. I understood what it meant when we speak about commercial awareness and the different skills. Now I had started, growing my practice areas. I knew what to look out for. I knew how to develop myself. And then I kept working at it, consistency and conscientiously. So I kept at it, but very many things I picked on along the way, both through this conferences, where you cannot overemphasize the need to have those clear purpose and goals in mind and to develop yourself. And one thing I learned very quickly was, and I heard Ify say it yesterday too, that's our speaker from yesterday, was you have to develop yourself and be very intentional. I mean, I had to, I'm not meant to be the speaker for today, but we have a lot of our colleagues. We have over 87 of you waiting, and I thought to just share my own personal experience, which I think would be useful for you. I mean, your being on this platform in and of itself demonstrates the fact that you are intentional about developing yourself. You owe it to yourself first and foremost to develop yourself. No one else would do it for you. It's no one's responsibilities. I mean, at that particular time, my first SBL conference was something I funded myself. I went from Lagos, I finished my task that very evening, and the next day I found my way to Abuja and I attended the conference. I paid my way to Abuja. I mean, over time, it's now something that my firms, the firms I joined, it's something that comes with working in those firms, is a training that we get. But the first initial training was something that I got for myself, and I was quite intentional about it. So I think that it's something that we should be very intentional. I think it's something that we should be very, very intentional about. Your development is something that you owe to yourself, and it's something that you must do. And in doing that, you must also ensure that you are never discouraged. You must tell yourself, once you have that big picture and you have the goal before you, then you walk at it and you go after it. I mean, I used to tell myself that I couldn't lie to myself because there was nothing I had set for myself as a goal. In setting the goal, you would realize that you can achieve it. And I kept at it. And looking back today, of all people, I'm the most inspired and humbled person because time has come and gone, and those things are things I have now ticked and have now achieved them. So I would encourage you very quickly to write out your goals. Your goals are something that will inspire you. There are things that should be audacious. There are things that you would need to walk to. There are things that you would need, you know, a bit of faith in yourself, a bit of pushing in yourself to achieve it. And don't minimize yourself when you're daring, when you're looking at the things that you want to go for. But just make sure that these things are written out and they are very clear to you. And then you work at it and you work very conscientiously, because you would achieve it. And like if you said yesterday, that the sky is only the starting point. I hope that I have said a lot at this time. I think that our speaker. Thank you. Hold on a second. Our speaker is coming in. I see some questions in the chat box. Someone said, thank you so much, Ma, you've said a lot. And someone said, Ma, were you working in a law firm when you started? Yes, I was working in a law firm. And to be honest, my pay at that time wasn't something that could cover my expenses for my postgraduate studies. But that's the key thing about having goals. I knew what I wanted. I wanted a degree from one of the best universities. After I spoke to Professor, I think it was Professor Auditor that I spoke to at the SBL that I attended. I told him how I got admitted into the law school in the UK. Right. I saw, right. So like I said, I at the material time, I was looking back, I was earning a very little sum then, but that didn't discourage me. I was very focused. I knew what I wanted. My passions and my aspirations were audacious, and I couldn't be discouraged by my income. And I guess that's the message I really want to pass across, because for most young lawyers at the time, which is still the case today, a lot of us tend to focus on how much we are paid, or we look at income as a limitation. So I always knew that I had to develop myself and that it was important. From the books I read, which is something I'm trying to re-echo from what yesterday's speaker said, the books that you read are so extremely important. I read those books and I applied the lessons I got from those books. Professor Dita mentioned to me at that SBL conference, and he said, Mabel, do not go to this school. I don't want to call that school so that it's not like it's one of the schools in the UK. He said, do not go to that school. It's a glorified polytechnic. I said, and I thought to myself, it was when I later went to do my research that I understood that anyways, with Google, if you pay for a Google ad and then you type in LLM in international finance. If you had paid for the Google app, you will come up as #1 because that was what I was doing. Each time I would search for LLM in international finance, that still would pop up. I then found out that I could get the ranking of universities from Time Online Good University Guide, from Guardian Good University Guide. I then learned how to check the rankings of schools. I understood the topmost schools in the UK, how those schools were ranked all around the world. And that made me then write my applications to the top best schools. And thankfully, I got admitted into one of them and then I went to school. So again, the lesson here is if I didn't have my goals clearly set, if I wasn't pushing enough to invest in myself, I probably would not have gone for the SBL conference. I probably had 1,000,001 reasons to tell myself that why I couldn't achieve it. I could have made 1,000,001 excuses, say, oh, I'm not earning so much. I couldn't have. But I remember I paid 25,000 naira for that SBL conference. I saved it from my income and then I went. I didn't think somebody owed it to me to pay for me to attend the conference. I thought that it was an investment in myself. I thought it was important. I was earning money. It was small at the time, but I had enough wisdom to keep it aside and invest. I could have used it for something else, but I used it for the SBL conference. And it turns, I still remember that conference till like, that was a turning point in my career because it just opened me up to the world of transactions and I learned a lot. And from there, I started flying in my career. So yes, it's very important. I think I must have answered that. You said you saved today. Indeed, you are audacious. Thanks a bunch. Thank you. I think someone said, I'm a public servant. Besides prosecuting on behalf of the state, which other areas can I get to groom myself to avoid a stereotype? Very well. Now, keep in mind that you should never, ever, wherever you find yourself is a stepping stone in life, and you must never, ever, ever limit yourself because of your current circumstances. I mean, if there's any message that I want to pass to you that you should take away from this session today is, number one, set your goals. 2, refuse to observe limitations. And then based on the circumstances you find yourself, look out for the opportunity in it. So if you ask me, for instance, if I were working as a public servant, for instance, what would I do? First and foremost, I joined the International Bar Association very early in my career. Now, today, the International Bar Association has platform for young lawyers. Because of my membership in International Bar Association, I was exposed to different platforms because I joined the committee. I was exposed to their materials. I got emails regularly. So it opened up my mind to what was happening around the globe. In my standard, for myself, for my career, I always aspired to international best practices, which was something that pushed me and motivated me to go to school abroad because I just wanted to see how things were done. I just wanted to see that things were done better. And I just wanted to be a better and a finer lawyer. I wanted to be that go-to lawyer within my space. So yes, as a public servant, there are groups within the NBA. The ICLE, for instance, offers a lot of development programs. At the time I started, I wasn't quite aware of the ICLE, but yes, I told you, I very early got involved in the SBL, and that was a good part for me. So for instance, the SBL, for instance, at the moment offers several trainings. The committees are having several webinars. I mean, things are a lot much easier today because you have access to trainings like this that are free and they are virtual. So yes, you can participate in a lot of these trainings. It will open your mind to several opportunities and areas in practice where you could easily groom yourself and find opportunities therein. I hope that helps. And you can also get books. You can also join all these associations. We will try and share with you a lot of these as well after this. Someone said, beautiful presentation. What advice do you have for new WIGs who could not make it to the top law firms because of having a great law school? I told you, do not sell yourself alive, which was something I always told myself, that there were no limitations. It is often said, okay, we have the Leonard Silk now. Good afternoon, Leonard Silk.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
Thank you,
It has
Leonard
been
Silk.
difficult running back from the Supreme Court. I didn't know I had a matter today, pre-election. I'm sorry. I'm just back.
Leonard Silk, we're much obliged. We're really, really much obliged. Thank you very much. I had taken your profile before you came in. Please, the platform is yours. Our participants are eager to listen to you. Thank you, sir, for logging in. We're much obliged.
I'm so grateful. Thank you very much. My learned friends, there is no younger learned friends. We are all learned friends and we are all equal. You are welcome to this program. Let me start off straight by saying that because of the importance of this topic, I want to be as much as practical as I can. First of all, I want to say that law probably had its origin in ancient Greece and Rome. In its modern form, it is British. Two of the greatest legacies of the Roman civilization to mankind are the Latin language and the law. And that is why the old lawyers will all say Latin that most of us will not even understand. I say many centuries ago, indeed, probably beyond the 80th century, when the Magna Carta was sealed, disputes were settled by use of force, and for those wealthy enough, by battle. The practice of the warring parties engaging expert warriors to conduct the battle on their behalf has become more civilized over the years, with parties now having greater access to the guns for hire in the form of lawyers trained to represent them in courts and tribunals. What I mean here is that in those days, battles were fought with guns, but with civilization, it is said that it is better to have our battles fought in court rather than through wars. And so the rich ones will hire the best lawyers to carry out the battle for them, no longer by war. That is the origin of legal practice. I said, it must be considered that the legal profession is not a poor man's profession. It has never been. In each country of origin, it was the case that you must have come from either the upper class or middle class to be a barrister. Unfortunately, in Nigeria today, you either belong to the upper class or to the lower class. There is no middle class again. Even now, indeed, the other classes are very low, and it has not been easy for a poor man to read law because of the cost. So if you look at it, except by the grace of God, some of us from the poor family, I'm from a very peasant family, wouldn't have read law at all. And during our own time, we're not paying school fees right from primary school up to the law school. In fact, they were paying us full salaries in law school. Now, let me straight away say, what are the things needed to be a successful legal practitioner, a lawyer? Views must differ on this. I think the first quality is that an advocate is born, not made. Law flows in one's blood. advocacy flows in one's blood. And that is why I've always agitated that, look, this idea of adopt your brief and sit down is killing ingenuity and the ability to be an advocate as you are trained to be. We must go back to that era. I have this, that if you want to be a successful lawyer, the first and foremost is your character. You must have an impeccable character, not an attitude of trying to be rich as quickly as possible, as we have now. Unfortunately, most of our younger ones want to leave law school today and ride limousine tomorrow. It is not possible. It's not possible. You see, the bad aspect of having that attitude is that you lose both. So the best thing you do is, law school is not a meal ticket itself. No, it is a ticket for you to go and learn in a good law firm, particularly a law firm that engages in advocacy. And that is why the Buhari idea then that if you graduated from law school, you must spend at least 5 years in a law firm before you can establish your own, was the best idea until Babangida killed it. To the extent that somebody will leave law school today and establish his chambers tomorrow. What they lose by that is that they lose both the money, the name, and competence. You know, one of the best things I learned, for 6 years, I was riding a motorcycle, but I thank Almighty God that I went through that. You see, if you practice in a law firm, not a law firm that specializes in selling landed property in Abuja. No, I don't call that law firm at all. That is a law firm that goes to court, litigation. At least try to spend at least 3 years. You know what you gain? One, you gain self-confidence. You gain reliability. But when you think that you leave law school and just start on your own, nobody has taught you the niceties of these things. And if you go to take up government appointment, you just feel that if anything happens and you leave, you will not survive. But if you have practiced in a law firm for some time, you won't have this phobia. For instance, the day I resigned from my former employer's chambers, I had only 50 naira in my life. And I used that 50 naira to fuel my B2 car. And that was how I started. And I have no regret for doing that at all. But if you think that if you leave your employment, you will not survive and so on, then you are even belittling yourself and belittling your creator. And the best way to go about it, as I've told you from my own experience, is at least start in a law firm. Forget about the salary. Forget about the allowances first. It is when you learn these niceties of law that the briefs will run after you instead of you running after briefs. Most of us come on, I don't know whether they're hearing me.
Yeah, just ask, can they hear you?
Hello? Hello?
Leonard Soup, we can hear you very loud and clear.
Okay.
Thank
Now,
you, sir.
And then you must be honest and reliable. The issue of honesty and reliability is this. In 1985, I saw, by that time, we didn't have this all these computers, something on. At the end of the month, they will give you a salary slip, and the bank will send the bank statement. My own was Bank of the North then. I saw my bank statement reading 1,000 naira. When my salaries and allowances were 250. So I went to Mr. Chimugu, the manager. I said, this is not my money. I wrote. He said, how can I say so? I said, my salary and allowances is 250. How did 1,000 come into my account? I think they tried to balance the account couldn't balance. He called me. He said, my brother, I want them to sack me. How do we balance, collect? I said, how can I collect? It's not my money. How can I collect it? They tried. When all that failed, you know what they did to me? They now wrote me that they were going to give me an award for honesty. It was on a Friday. I didn't know that they used 900 naira out of that 1,000 to buy a new Beetle for me and gave me 100 naira for fuel. That was how they were able to balance the account, and that was how I was able to get my first car. You see, if you are honest, like I said, money will run after you, briefs will run after you. But if you are not honest, they will all disappear. Most people say that as a lawyer, all you need is English language and so on. No, 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 no. As a lawyer, you must read everything. Up till now, I solve mathematics for my children, and I read any book I come across. It will help you. As a lawyer, the knowledge of law alone is not sufficient for you to practice law. Read anything you come across, any science, art, anything. A lawyer must be broad-minded. And then you need to pray. I tell you sincerely, nobody can succeed without prayer. And then, but never say it is your luck or not your luck. Everybody is lucky. It depends on how you use it. Like Shakespeare said in this to Brutus. He said, the fault, dear Brutus, is not in our stars, but in ourselves that we are underlining. For example, when you start poorly and people start running away from you, you say, God, what did I do? You caused it yourself. It is not God. Everybody. And that is why if you see it, who doesn't like a newborn baby? Everybody does. That is how we are created. In most cases, Atkins says that it is not God that changes us. It is our character that changes our skin. Like I said, lack of endurance. To be a successful lawyer, you must endure. Don't say you start by enjoying. In fact, if you start by enjoying, it won't last. Suffer first, and then the enjoyment will follow as the last one. Like in my own tribe, they say, may God make your evening better than the morning. That is, you suffer first and start enjoying in your old age, and not the other way around. Let me tell you this issue where endurance pays. During the 2019 presidential election, I was the lead counsel for INEC, and all the sensitive documents, the INEC server, Form 40 and the rest, were in my custody. Almost the petitioners and even some of the respondents depended on me to get these documents. Then at that stage, something happened. There were some of the documents that one of the petitioners pleaded, but the pleading was wrong. he pleaded for a particular server. He said www.factsdon'tlienigeria.com. Then they say we should produce. I say INEC doesn't have any church server. If they have, let them produce it. They say they're from 40G. They say from 40G in all the polling, they say all the polling areas. I say, how can you say from 40G in all the polling areas? If you have the copies, you produce. Of course, INEC never had any server like www. You know, that was how they could not tender it. And my own view, after looking at all these things, I discovered that it would not have been in the interest of the survival of this country to allow them tender the server. If the server had been tendered, by now would have been in war. And I'll tell you the reason. Perhaps a by-election would have been ordered. And then if that had happened, all the other political parties, including those who were sponsored by some governments abroad, which came to my knowledge then, would have created total insecurity for this country that by now would have been in war. But then, unfortunately for me, even most of our colleagues were sending me insulting texts. They say, what is your own? I'm not supposed to be neutral. I say, yes. Neutrality in this context means as the counsel to INEC, I must be able to defend the election INEC conducted. Can you still see me? Hello?
No, Leonard Silk. No, Leonard Silk. But we can hear you loud and clear.
Okay.
Okay, we can see you now. We can see.
Okay. That come close now. That was how the INEC server was not tendered. And then when this happened, one of the presidential candidates who was very, very close to me, called me from abroad and said, Ustaz, I say, sir, did I ever offend you? I said, no, sir. In fact, you have been very kind to me. He said, they say you are the one destroying my case. I said, how can I destroy your case? Am I your legal team? He said, you prevented my counsel from tendering the server and so on. I said, they asked for server that does not exist. If such a server exists, would have tendered it. So INEC doesn't have such a server. He said, okay, you know what you do for me? I say, yes, sir. Tell me. He said, okay, just withdraw from that case. I'll send you 2 billion. I say, sir, what work have I done for you that you send me? He said, no, just withdraw. Don't represent me. Don't represent any other person. I say, I'm only representing INEC, no other person. Then I say, can you do me a favor, sir? I say, yes. I say, can you promise me paradise? He now hissed and dropped the phone. On the day this happened, I did not have 10,000 naira to buy fuel from Abuja to Kaduna. My son had to send me 10,000. This endurance, do you know how this paid me off? In less than 2 weeks, Doye Dire and his running mate then briefed me and said they were told that I was the only person who would not compromise. I charged them 2 times what the other person wanted to give me, and they paid more than half at a go. If I don't have that endurance, if I had collected that 2 billion, would I have got this brief? And 2, if you collect such money and buy, say, bean cake, we call it akara, for your children, do you know what happens? while you are still alive, those children will become useless. They'll be destroyed. It is not pastoristic or imami something. This is the law of nature. And that is why today you'll agree with me that most of our political guru have their children are disappointed because of the money they used in training these children. They took public money, embezzled public money, send their children to the best schools abroad and so on. These children either come back without certificate or come back as drug addicts and even become a threat to their own parents. That is the cause of using bad money, especially the young lawyers. Instead, sleep drinking Gary alone. Sleep drinking Gary alone. It will pay off. And in most cases, it is a test. The moment you are able to pass that test, the sky becomes your limit, because you don't know how news travels. I didn't know that those who appointed me had the wind of what happened. It was later on they started saying this what happened. So for my young learned colleagues, please don't think of being rich today. Think of making a name. It is that name that will make you rich, and for the wealth to endure. Arrogance. What you must run away from, like leper, is arrogance. The moment you are arrogant, your colleagues despise you, God despises you, and at the end of it, you see yourself being alone in a desert of legal practice. You know, unfortunately, it is some of the seniors, most of the seniors, without any apology, who are nakedly arrogant. Who are you on earth? Yeah, you greet a senior, you say, how are you? What is how are you? Is it the English intonation or my travel? But please, no, as a right and law of nature, that you are not better than anybody. You are not better than a lawyer called to the bar today. You are the only person who is better than you is the one who is better in conduct. And I quoted some biblical something. Because of time, I made a rough speech of about 49 pages, and the copies is with your secretariat. So I only talk to the most important parts. But that one of arrogance, I said. Now, both the Bible and Quran say that the moment you are arrogant, God himself will bring you down. In my own few 65 years on earth, I've never seen anybody who has become arrogant that has not dropped. No, I've not. And my younger learner friends, quote me anywhere. Just watch anybody. The moment anybody becomes arrogant, whether as a result of his money or high office and so on, the moment he becomes nakedly arrogant, just start watching him. Not up to a year, you go down. Yes, from God. For instance, God says so in Matthew 5, verse 5. Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. And then Proverbs 16:18 says, pride goes before destruction, and a haughty spirit before a fall. I quoted the Quranic of about 10 pages. So let me skip the quotations. Now, your courtroom attitude. The first thing you should know is this principle of, hello? Hello?
Nancy, we can hear you, sir.
Okay. Okay. The first thing is to know is what we call gastronomical jurisprudence. What it means is that you must study the judge's behavior. Perhaps he had quarreled with his wife before coming to court. Perhaps something had upset him. He may just come and start saying, yes, why do this? No, keep your calm. A good lawyer doesn't show anger. Even if you're angry, hide it. Don't show anger in court. You don't know what had happened to him. Never show anger. Something might have caused it. The first case I was tested with was a rape case in Igbosere then. And we had decided from where I was doing it that since it was taken to a female judge, that naturally we were not expecting any victory. And that if I went to court, we should be rude to her so that she will make more mistakes, we go on appeal. On my way, I say, me from a poor family, which rudeness. I won't be rude though. I kept it to myself. I went, I was humble, and she now allowed me to ask many questions, both useful and useless ones, until God helped me with this one. I now said, Mojisola something was her name. I said, but you were so wicked. You were so wicked that you had to, hello?
Nancy, we're following you. We can hear you.
Okay, I think you were so wicked that you had to wear your wet half, is it half lace to this thing because you are going to him. She said no. She said no. In fact, I had to bath and perfume well before I went. You know, that was the end of the case. If I had been rude to the judge wouldn't have allowed me to go that far. You perfumed you bath well, perfume this, it means you are going to a girlfriend. And that was how we won. And that was how my principal started calling me a rapist. I'm not a rapist, so. Now, the second issue in court is, now, when you are going to court, make sure you are neatly dressed, not flamboyantly dressed. Neatly. As a lawyer, don't squeeze your bib. No, your bib must stand out. Your collar must stand out. Because judges are human beings too. If you are dirty, he has a psychological feeling already. You may not lose your case, but then you may not find some procedural steps easy. And then under no circumstance should you intentionally deceive a judge. Under no circumstance. Never tell a judge lies. The moment a judge knows that you are straightforward, you are not dishonest, you will not deceive him. Like we discussed them, that is how they discuss us. In fact, you will find it easier in court. But the moment they know that you are not straightforward, you do this, before you talk, they will imagine where you are going. And that will not be good for you. Then one of the most important things, and this is what I want all of us to realize, never, under no circumstance, should you discuss a judge. In fact, where people are discussing judges, run away from there. They will hear. And most of the accusations are wrong. You can prove them. So never discuss whether rightly or wrongly. Don't be a party to where judges are being discussed. That is the courtroom. To your client, be candid. Tell him to the best of your knowledge the position, the weakness or strength of his case. I have lost many briefs, and one in particular, the one said one of the gubernatorial something then who lost. He said we should go for a review at the Supreme Court. I said, Excellency, you won't win. He said, are you a judge? I said, no, but from my little experience, you win. He said that I'll pay you. I said, it's not a question of money yet, but if you go, you will win. When they went and they abused them, the third day, he called me to his house in Metama and gave me 2 million. He said for fuel. Is that 2 million no better than for me than whatever he would have paid for me to go and disgrace myself at the Supreme Court? Tell he may run away, but after finding out the truth, he will come back to you. Not only come back to you, he will now bring more clients to you. But if you deceive him, whatever money you might take him from him, he will go and discuss with some other people. And even if somebody wants to come, you say, don't go there. He won't tell you, he will not tell you the truth. And then for you to be able to candidly advise your client, you must read. Law is reading. Law is reading law report. The moment you don't read law report, you are backward. And that is why to be a successful lawyer, particularly litigation, you must totally minimize your social activities. Minimize. And the moment you are used to this reading culture, it becomes your lover that you hardly go to people's house. I'm either in my house, in my office, or I might have traveled. Or if any of my friends has a wedding or naming ceremony or it is dead, but I will not ordinarily just wake up and start going to anybody's house. And it pays. I'm so used to it now that I don't see the need of just going to people's houses for no serious reason. It pays. The moment you are used to it, in fact, you feel happy. Then conflict of interest. Tell your client when there is likely to be a conflict of interest in what he wants you to do, and maybe your own or family something. Fortunately for us, from my little experience, we hardly have this in Nigeria, and that is very pleasing. But unfortunately, it happens so much in Kenya and Ghana that I'm not happy with what happens there in most cases. Now, sorry. Now your home, that's one of the most important things. Make sure that a day before you go for any serious case, don't quarrel with your wife or anybody. Make sure your home is peaceful. You sleep well. And particularly that morning, try and kiss your wife before you go. Make yourself happy. Play your best music. If you are rattled from home, definitely you cannot perform in court. I'm telling you. You can't. No way. And anybody who tells you that, particularly with the men, don't pretend to be, they say you are the head of the family. You can be the head of the family, but the wife is the neck, and it's the neck that turns the head anyhow. The woman can turn you anyhow that you'll be confused. And so make sure before you go for any serious case, make sure there's peace in your house. If not, you will not be able to do anything. Then, as a litigation lawyer, in most cases, the other party, particularly when the other party knows that he has a weak case, will approach you for settlement. Don't say because we have a good case, we will not settle. No. You see, one thing about litigation is like a pregnant woman. Only God knows what it will deliver. Don't tell me there's scanning. Even scanning, it is more or less inferior to what is in the judge's mind. Most good judges don't even know what their conclusion is going to be until after you might have not only addressed the court, but after they might have read and thought over everything first. It's at the last stage that they will now say, okay, this is the way it should go. So they don't say, because I have a good case, I won't settle. You may end up losing. In most cases, we think we have a very good case, only for it to turn out to be something else. And that is why you should never, under no circumstance, should you tell your client you will win. No, you are not the judge. That is not your business. That is not your duty. And know that whether you win or not, you are entitled to your full fee. You are not the judge. And you are not a taxi driver who must drop off his passenger before he's paid. Ensure that your money is paid first, or at least 3/4 paid. But at the end of it, particularly politicians, apart from the first payment, will not pay you again. But never tell a client that will win. The best you will say is that on the face of it, it's a case I think we can try, but never tell a client he will win. Now, pro bono cases. Pro bono cases are part of your natural call to serve humanity. A poor man may have a very good case. He will come, he cannot pay you. Don't drive him away. Here, almost 60% of the cases, or over, are free. But God Almighty will bring one that will pay for those 60 free ones you might have done. Don't turn off somebody who has a good case because he cannot pay. Equally, it is not your duty. Tell the client the position. Say, this case is weak. Oh. What is your view? If he says, please, I want to test it, we have to go ahead. But make sure, because of what happens today, make sure that he puts something in writing. First of all, he should brief you in writing. And after your advice, he should say, I've listened to your advice, but please, lawyer, I still want to test it. Because some of the petitions received today, after the client might have lost, he will say, you promised him this and that. No. And he won't win, but he has embarrassed you. Cross-examination. This is one of the areas that particularly the young ones will have to think very well on how to go about it. Cross-examination doesn't mean you will ask every question on earth. If you get one word from the person you are cross-examining that satisfies you, that you think will make you win, don't ask again. No. When you continue to ask, you will try to now repair. Like when I asked this lady why she came dirty and so on, if you should go after that, maybe later on she would have said, no, it is because he threw me on the floor that was why I became dirty. Don't try to ask too much. Ask a cardinal question and make sure it is the one that the witness can hardly dodge. Or if the witness dodges it, and you know that he's telling lies, the judge is a human being. The judge knows when the client is lying and when the client is telling the truth. Now, the moment you are briefed, try to prepare your brief or your case right from there. Don't say you wait. Brain is a very deceptive computer. It's like when you go for maths exam, the formula may be in your head, but when you want to put pen to paper, it will just go off until you might have finished writing the paper. So whatever you feel about that case, put it in writing, put it in your file. And if you are for the defendant, the moment you are served with the writ of summons or anything, please, if you can, what I normally do is that particular day, if it is not late, I'll read everything and do my jottings. And do not say you leave it until another day. You don't know what may crop up the next day. And never go to court. Even if you have read your file 900 times, never go to court without reading your file a day to you're going to court and the same morning that you are going to court. In fact, you will discover that you have now discovered many other things that are as if you have not read the file before. Reading makes you not only to be familiar, but to ensure that that human errors are as much as possible avoided. Now you will the client's money in particular. This is the one that has been causing a lot of problems. Many people have been derobed. How I try to do so is this. Apart from maintaining a client's account, I make sure that client's money, if I can, don't even come near me at all, so that temptation is not there. When I started on my own in 1990, almost every weekend, people will be bringing money for me to keep for them till the following Monday or so. I don't know. I almost became a weekend banker. Then one day, thieves broke into the what do you call it? The estate. They ransacked everywhere except my office. You see the work of God. If they had ransacked my office, perhaps those people would have said that I took their money and this. But what I'm telling you is that try as much as possible to distance yourself from clients' money. Or try as much as possible to put them in the client's account. But where that is not possible, if you must keep them, if I had a safe, you call them. If the money is much, you say, I'm putting it in this safe, give him the key. Please. I'm not joking. But client's money is like It's like leprosy. And then I think one of the areas that we have been going too far to my dislike is that some people had been sanctioned because they said they deducted what the client was owing them after the client's money might have come to them. You are owing me, and you say I no deduct the money. And you know, when you pay this money to the client will hardly pay. But so far, the law now is that even if the client is owing you, you have no right to deduct his money from source, that you should pay his money and demand for your payment. But I think we should take a look at that again. Because in Odusote and Odusote, 1964 case, it was stated that if a client is owing you and his money comes to you, can deduct your own and set the balance to him. But the disciplinary committee about 2 years ago was derobing people from doing so. So my advice to you is that if client's money comes to you, you know how you go about it now. Write him, say, this your money has come to me. Now, give me, can I take what you are owing me out of it? Or put it in writing. When do you intend to pay me? If he says you should take it, it's in writing. If he says, I'll pay you so this thing, then you can now file an undefended list or summary judgment against him with a motion. Well, that the court will make an order that he's not supposed to touch this amount, that is the one he's owing you, until that case is decided. You know, our people say the Koniman die, Koniman bury him. There are always ways of doing these things legally and neatly, but we should take a look at this again. That you are owing me, you say I cannot take until this, and you know, if the client takes it, he will hardly pay you, particularly politicians. Then anger. I've said so before. As a young lawyer growing, try as much as possible not to be angry. As a human being, you be angry, but try not to talk the moment you are angry. Wait for some minutes, because if you talk the moment you are angry, what will come out of your mouth will be something that you can never retrieve, and you live regretting it forever. I am somebody who gets angry because I'm a stammerer. But what I do, if you make me angry, before I reply you, I try to count 10, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, up to 20. You see that your anger will be coming down, and you will start thinking in a more positive way. Nothing destroys one like anger. Now, I say election petitions. Election petitions, fortunately, fall into the aspect of law that can make a lawyer crazy, can make you happy, can make you cry, can make you smile. And like they said, it's in a class of its own. Yes, really it is. And by the grace of God, I think I started the election something Unongo and Apako with my boss then. What our client told us, a different thing came out in court. But my boss was not angry. And then he kept us in the hotel and said we should wait till the following day. He was bringing money. He didn't bring money until we left too. So in election matters in particular, make sure you do 3 things. First of all, insist on your fee before you write A. Well, politicians won't pay you. 2, make sure if you are for the petitioner in particular, which is always the most difficult aspect, the most difficult is to be a petitioner. I always pray to be for the respondent. Make sure that all the documents and a piece of evidence he wants to use are given to you before you even allow your opponent know that you want to go to court. Particularly if it is government. The moment they know you want to go to court, you will never be able to get any evidence you rely on again. What I normally do, if you brief me and say this, I say, okay, if there is time, I say, I give you 14 days. Bring all the documents. If he says it's government, I say if it is government, you know how to get them, but make sure they are certified. Because if you don't make sure you have those documents, the moment you go to court, you will never get any document to rely on. And your opponent will not willingly certify any document you use to cut his legs. And then election petitions are cases that, no matter how brilliant, no matter how hardworking, can never be done by one lawyer. You need at least 5 lawyers for any election matter, at least 5. At least 5. You can't do it alone. You fumble. You can't. Don't be greedy to do it alone. You can never. You need many heads. The most recent Supreme case, something I had, that was the one judgment was delivered yesterday. Our difficulty was how to convince the Supreme Court that our client only needed to resign 30 days before the general election and not 30 days before the primary election. At the trial court said the trial court disqualified her on the ground that she did not resign by the PDP coalition 30 days before the primary. It was upheld at the Court of Appeal. Do you know what happened? It was one of the lawyers doing NYC who got this authority for us, to the effect that the election contemplated is the general election and not primary election. If without those boys, if I were to do it alone, or if even those of us who are here alone, wouldn't have been able to get a way out of it. And that consequently brings me to this issue. Don't never underrate any lawyer. No lawyer knows law, and no lawyer is better than another lawyer. No, you'll be surprised. Never underrate any lawyer. And in election petitions again, you see, any attempt to settle, like I said before, try and grab it quickly, because election petitions are the most dangerous aspect of cases you can see. During the presidential election in 2019, one of the candidates whom I later got to realize was a professional petitioner, somebody Owuru. He waited until after the results had been declared and then filed a petition that presidential election petition that he was excluded. We're doing this. I had to tell those concerned. I say it is not these big people who know that is our concern. No. It's this kind of exclusion. Please try and settle with him. And if you are not settled with him, I'm sure it is his own that would have led to a rerun. And once it comes to a rerun, you who might have won may likely be the loser, because the other political parties will gang up against you. So once there is that opening, please try and settle. Then don't say my fee will be reduced. No, even if your fee is reduced and you win, that happiness alone is psychological. And the man will come back to you again. Before I forget, this winning or not winning a case, like I said, let your client know that it is not your duty to win. No. It is not your duty to win. One, you are not a judge. And if you say you must win every case, then you will not do litigation. It means you take only the ones that can be construed as undefended. And if you are only doing undefended list, you will not have any impact in the legal field. No. You have to do something anew. Then a client will tell you one thing. You go to the courtroom, what you discover is totally a different thing. We had this client, a criminal case, told us a very beautiful story. When he entered the witness box and they started cross-examining him, he was saying the exact opposite of whatever he had told us. At that stage, I had to seek the permission of the court to leave him, and I left him in the witness box. You see, if a client refuses to tell you the truth, that is not a client for you, and it's not somebody you should follow. It's not somebody you waste your time on. It is just like a thief steals from somewhere. He ran into your house, say, please, they are pursuing me, and you took him in and locked the door. Immediately you left, with the things he has stolen with your own, you will carry them and start going again. That is how unreliable clients are. Then when you are writing any letter to any court, make sure your colleague on the opposing side is copied, by all means. And as far as possible, don't write to the judge or the chief judge. Write, if it is to the chief judge, write to the chief registrar of the court and say, if it is very important, say attention justice, or attention the honorable the chief judge, or the honorable the chief justice. Never drag a judge into issues of communication. Try as much as possible to avoid it. And so, for your own good name too, even if your brother, your father is a judge, never attempt to discuss your cases with them outside the courtroom. First of all, if you do, they may not tell you, they'll look down upon you. They say he does not know what he's doing, or that you are incompetent. And if they should recommend anybody, they will recommend anybody to you. Then never refuse to take a brief because it's against any government. No. Don't. You don't reject government briefs because you fear that they will deal with you or something like that. Look, as long as you are doing what you are taught in your profession with good conscience, nobody can deal with you. When we were doing the Mohammed Abacha case, the president called us for settlement and said we should bring how much for the case to be withdrawn. I said, Your Excellency, what is this for? Is it for atonement or this thing. He said I was insultive and that he would deal with me. I say, Excellency, if it is excreta that is in your stomach, you cannot deal with me. The president is still alive, I'm still alive. In most cases, it is fear that destroys us. Once you are honest and you are convinced about what you are doing, please don't have fear in your mind. Now, to round it up, let me tell you one thing. If every lawyer, both the old and the young, should adhere to the rules of professional ethics, and there are 57 rules. The 57th one is the citation, 56 is the in interpretation. If we adhere to these rules, sincerely, you are a good lawyer that will survive the weather any day. Particularly Rule 1. Rule 1 captures what a lawyer should be, what a good lawyer ought to be, and if you are a lawyer and you maintain that, by the grace of God, you can never fall. Let me read it to you. Rule 1 says, a lawyer shall uphold and observe the rule of law. Rule of law. Promote and foster the cause of justice. Maintain a high standard of professional conduct, and shall not engage in any conduct which is unbecoming of a legal practitioner. What else do you need more? That has summarized everything that a lawyer needs to be. You don't even need the other rules. This one is a summary of all the other rules. Let us try to abide by them. And then, before I forget, that is what we call in-house lawyers. Just like the litigation lawyers, always try to advise your employers candidly. If you are not clear about the provision of law, say, sir, give me up to tomorrow. Let me read it up. Or let me do more research on it and ask questions. Once I have any serious case, all my friends are in trouble. Because I phoned this, say, what is this? What is this? You can't, a quiet lawyer cannot be a successful lawyer. No, you need everybody's contribution. And don't be ashamed. Say, why are you asking? Who knows law? Nobody knows law. Let me tell you. A former Chief Justice of Nigeria, in whose house I stayed in law school. In fact, he gave me his guest house. The man who is so humble to me in life that I'm always praying to God, if I can be 0.5% as humble as he is, I'll be happy in life. Justice WIGS. When in 1997, he sent me to Kogi State as the chairman of the local government election appeals tribunal. I went, I said, my Lord, but it's my state. Why do you send me to my state now? He said, Stars, because I know you are not purchasable. But I know sending one to one state is a difficult thing. Then after I thanked him and I wanted to go, he said, he asked me a question. He said, what is the position of this thing in law? I was frightened. I said, my Lord, you're asking me. He laughed. He said, nobody knows law. I said, my Lord, if you don't know law, it means in the next 60 years, I'll not have started reading law. So that is law for you. If one of the best Chief Justices Nigeria had ever got would say to a non-entity like me, to tell him, give him an opinion on law, then who are you? Who are you to boast that you know law? Nobody knows law, and sleep with that. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Bennett Silk.
Now,
I took copious notes, and I am not a young lawyer. We have
no,
lots
I know.
of questions from our participants today, and if you would oblige us a little time to answer those questions, we'll be very grateful. Shall I continue with the questions?
If you want, I'll be here until tomorrow, because as I'm answering the questions, listening, I too am learning, and I normally learn from young lawyers. No lawyer knows law. May God forbid the day that I will know law.
Thank you, sir.
Ah,
So
good.
Bolu Awi says, thank you so much, Leonard Silk, for such an eye-opening interaction. He says, sir, the society puts much pressure on young lawyers. The moment one is called to the bar, they are perceived as rich. How can a young lawyer deal with these unexpected expectations from the society?
Thank you very much. You are right. How to go about it is how I went about my own. Immediately I left the law school, they were organizing this thing in my village and say, I'm the chairman. I say, no, I'm not the chairman, because I've just left law school. I've not even started receiving salaries. But pray for me. Once I might have financially arrived, you don't need to invite me before I come. And so everybody started piping down. You just have to tell them the truth. Don't pretend. Don't say, don't tell them. Don't tell them I'm a lawyer. Tell them the truth that you have just left. You have not even started working, that you need time to settle. Don't hide. You see, it is when you hide your identity that people misconstrue you and maybe put burden on you. And then let me tell you how I do one of these things. Let me tell you how I do one of these. Up to today, if I'm owing you, I come close to you. Unless I have the money to pay. As long as I come closer to you, you know I don't have the money to pay yet, and you can't do anything. So, but if you hide, you say, I'm Organa, I say, okay, bring me my money. Tell them the truth.
Thank you, sir. Michael Babajide says, thank you, Leonard Silk, for your insightful admonitions and presentation. My question is, how can a young lawyer who spends so much to be called to bar, who lives in a country with no social security, with huge financial or professional, with huge, right? But for financial and professional obligations from the bar and the society, with no socio-economic rights to enforce, still give little or no consideration to earning money, especially a living wage, through practice?
You see, my brother, like I said, beginnings are never easy. Let me tell you my story. When I started, I got married when I was doing NYC at the age of 27. And we were making our soup with crayfish, crayfish, instead of meat. His patience, hard work, and then just make sure, even if it is gari, buy gari and keep, and then start working, whether with pay or for no pay, start working in a chamber that you know is busy. You will get to know too many people and you'll be on. Look, when I was a junior in a chamber, what my boss's clients were paying me was so much that I was not thinking of my salaries at all. Because fortunately, they will send me to Bauchi, send me to this and this and this. And those people were really taking care of me. Just make sure, know that to begin it's not easy, but get a good chamber. Not the chamber where they sell firewood or sell landed property. there you will never grow. You only grow to be a crook. And if you have any personal advice, my learned brother here, since you say I can't say my learned sister, will give you my phone number, or I can give you now. Always contact me. Because I'm from an abject family, but that was how I got over on my own. So whatever it is, as a lawyer, you will survive, no matter the weather. Whether Buhari, Atiku, or Tinubu or Peter Obi, don't mind, as a lawyer, you survive.
Thank you, Leonard. So there's another question here. It says, sir, as a new WIG and a public servant, I recently joined a WhatsApp group, and all I see there is agitation from the rank and files who felt cheated by the system. Sir, is it advisable to take one's employer to court over marginalization in workplace, especially where other employees like medical practitioners, engineers, accountants were elevated on the basis that they are professionals, while leaving employees who are legal practitioners behind?
My brother, legally, you can do so, but practically it's not advisable. And you see, I have this belief that what peace cannot take, war can never achieve. You know, and it will create a very bad blood. But one of the ways of getting out of it is that you have the right under the constitution to join a form of what do you call it? Is it not labor union? You call this in your place. That's right. You can have a solid vocal voice.
A trade union.
Yes, but not to go to court. It will create bad blood.
Thank you, sir. Anna Yossi says, thank you, Leonard. So what's your advice to a young lawyer who is representing a client in a case where the judge is biased against his client?
It is very simple. When the judge is biased, first of all, what you should not do, never write a petition against a judge. If your client wants to write a petition against a judge, leave that client. The client will go, you and the judge will stay. You know, when you think that the judge is biased, what I normally do, I continue to make too many submissions that the judge will definitely make mistakes. Set it aside on appeal and send a copy to him. You see, the moment the judge is biased, he's likely going to make so careless mistakes that you can always get it set aside on appeal. And that is because naturally, the moment you are not straight, our people say that the pen itself falls down without your knowing. But please never be a petition writer.
Thank you very much, sir. With the Money Laundering Act, this is from Mohammed. With the Money Laundering Act, can we keep clients' money in excess of the minimum amount provided by the centers?
No. You see, but that excess, to me, is not an excess now, because if he says so for this thing, if it is not company, it should not be more than 5 million. If it is company or public something, it's 10 million. Is that not too much for you to keep? What do you need that fund for? No.
Thank you, sir. God's glory, Ifezwe saying, but can you ask the judge to recuse himself in the instance of bias? Is that also not advisable?
Yeah, it is only advisable where you have your facts. You see, it is not that when a judge makes a ruling against you, say he's biased, or if the judge looks at you with bad eye, you say he doesn't like me. Like I said, in my mere 40 years at the bar, This issue of gastronomical jurisprudence plays a lot of role in whatever a judge does. He's a human being like you. Because if you just rescue yourself and you don't have anything to show for it, even if you have something and it is something that is deniable, you end up, and you know, like I said, as we discuss, judges, that is how they discuss us. They say, this one is a petition writer. And you know, there's what we call gastronomical, not gastronomical, the cosmic love. Cosmic love is, now, if you and I, my sister, are enemies, and somebody now comes to say, all lawyers are crooks, you know, at that time, you and I will bury our enmity and fight him first. Because you are a lawyer, I'm a lawyer, he has insulted both of us. So try to be very, very careful the way you discuss and even think about judges. What I do, anywhere, even if I'm coming for a meeting and they are talking about Judge A, I go out until they finish.
Thank you, Leonard. So would your position be different if it was an arbitration scenario?
Whether arbitration or court, it is the same thing. If you just accuse the chairman or members of the arbitration without proof, you see, bad blood is created already. Sometimes you cannot avoid bad blood, but it can only be created where there is no option. And there are always many ways of avoiding it. For instance, I had a particular case in Mina in 1987. In open court, it was an appeal. I thought technically I had a very good appeal, but then morally, the chief judge felt otherwise. And you know, our appeal courts in the north here are always filled up with illiterates and everybody. So after dealing with me, everybody was laughing. I say, my Lord, if it is what I know, what I'm told that I'm practicing, and you are humiliating me, my Lord, I say no more. The following day, he was retired by the military. But I didn't know he was going to be retired. You see, look, if anybody offends you, if you offend me, I don't take action. Because I feel that if, despite your own conscience, you offend me, no, God won't allow you to go free, no matter what. And it is better than you say, borrow banker, borrow banana. And it is only in extreme cases that I say I leave you to God. Don't. Try to avoid such situations as far as possible. If necessary, take an adjournment, go and sleep. You know one thing with anger, in human nature, in Eka's genetical magazine, no matter how angry you are, under 1 hour, it subsides. It subsides, or your thought will be different. What we find difficult to maintain is how to prevent ourselves from reacting immediately. If you don't react immediately, you'll be the better off for it.
Thank you so much, sir. Dorcas says, thank you for this very insightful session, Leonard. So, what do you have to say to people like us who prefer to go into tech law as opposed to litigation? Because majority of the session, I feel, focuses more.
You know, fortunately, let me tell you, the moment you are a lawyer, you are an architect of all fields. And that's why you're called learned friend. Learned, not that you know everything, but because you have the capability to adapt to every situation and learn. It is good. It's good because everybody cannot be in litigation. But my advice first is that for those who have not practiced for at least 2 years in chamber first, please try and practice in a law firm that goes to court at least for 2 years before you diversify or specialize. It will give you a lot of confidence that you always be able to adapt yourself to every situation. And you know, it's because it's lack of this diversification that is showing as if we have too many lawyers. No, we have too few lawyers. You know what happens in America and Britain? Our own is simply because we don't know how to make use of lawyers. Every police station in America has what we call, is headed by a district attorney. A district attorney is a lawyer tied to a police station. If any issue is brought, it is taken to him first. It is only when he cannot settle that they may take it to the commissioner of police. Yeah, he has the power to fine, give minor punishment, or settle you. It's not like in Nigeria that if two people will go to police station, they will say, take them to court. And that's why, of course, I even congested. The same thing in Britain. And if we should adopt that in Nigeria, the lawyers will be too few. And they started one implementation, giving the members of the legislative houses legal aids. But unfortunately, they were paying their salaries and allowances to their bosses, and the bosses were not paying them. If the government were to pay them directly, for instance, in Britain and America, they are paid directly by the government. We will still have, we will say that there are too few lawyers in Nigeria. But our problem is that we don't know how to use the lawyers.
Thank you, Leonard. So I don't know if you looked into the chat box, but a lot of appreciation here from my new WIGS. A lot of them say thank you. A lot of them clapped. We're very much appreciative. In fact, Fatima said, "God bless you, sir. You remind me of my dad. May his soul rest in peace." A lot. And I joined them again, Leonard, to say thank you so much for the time that you have given. I have learned a lot. My diary, I have a lot scribbled on it, and we're indeed grateful. Some of them have asked if they can be mentored by you, but the ICLE will look into this, and then we will always come back to you.
Please, my Leonard, can I give all of them my phone number? Whoever has a problem, we discuss. They learn from me. I learn from them. And you know, sometimes I read my children's primary school textbooks. I learn. Primary school textbooks. I learn.
Very, very well, thank you, sir. We will share it. And with this, we want to say thank you. This is where we will draw the curtain. You've given us so much of your time. It is said that we'll be the same in the next 5 years. But for the people we meet and the books we read, you've given us an opportunity to meet you and learn from your wealth of experience. And God will bless you so much.
I'm so
Thank you,
and tell them, by the grace of God, I'll continue to learn from them too, and you.
Thank you, sir.
And I'm sorry for having come late. I didn't know I had this election appeal at the Supreme Court.
Thank you, sir.
I'm so grateful.
Thank you, sir. Thanks.
Oh, I'm grateful. Good night.
Have a good evening, sir. Bye-bye.
Now, Oh, it's my bank. When I get this current one.
No, once they are done, they log in.
Nah, yeah. My big sister,
Oh, let us see. Good evening, sir.
my big sister who has abandoned me in Kaduna.
No, sir, I did not abandon you. I miss you.
You are not fair to me. Oh. How is Abuja?
We bless God, sir. We bless God. Thank
Only
you, sir. Very wonderful section.
now good. I'm so grateful.
Yes, sir.
Now,
Thank you.
how are my
Yes,
children?
They are fine. We thank God, sir.
Greet them for me.
They will hear, sir. Thank
Now
you.
good.
Yes, sir.